All right, so the easiest way to convert from degrees to radians is to multiply each of the values you're given by pi over 180 degrees. And so what you're really doing is you're really just multiplying by a factor of 1. All right, just like you would increase a fraction by multiplying it by 5 over 5 or 2 over 2. Since pi and 180 degrees are in the same position on the unit circle, multiplying by pi over 180, what that does is it takes the unit out of the numerator and cancels it with that unit in the denominator and does the conversion. All right? Super important. You need to simplify all fractions. All right? You must have a simplified proper or improper fraction. What that means is that you are not allowed decimals and you are not allowed mixed numbers. All right? It's very specific in what you're allowed to have. So let's look at a few examples of how you're going to do this. So again, if I'm given the information or the measurement 45 degrees, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 45 degrees, multiply it by pi over 180 degrees. And so you're going to see that the degree symbol on the top and bottom, those are common units, which is how they cancel each other out. And then you need to simplify these fractions. One thing you could do is to take the 180 and divide by the 45 and see if this 45 goes into 180 evenly. If it does, then you've simplified your fraction. So basically, 45 goes into itself once, it goes into here 4 times, and your conversion is pi over 4. So 45 degrees is the same measurement as pi over 4. And we're going to do that for all of our degree measurements. So 330 degrees. Again, I'm going to take that value and multiply it by the pi over 180. Yep. Now again, I can take away the degree symbols. And now I need to start trying to figure out how I'm going to simplify these down. Again, they both end in a 0, so I can cancel out those zeros. And then I need to look at 33 and 18 and recognize that I can divide 33 by 3. All right, so if I divide that by 3 and I divide this by 3, I'm left with 11 pi divided by 6. All right, and so this degree measurement is this degree or this radian measurement. The same thing works with negatives. Okay, just remember I'm just going down the other side of the triangle, or the other side of the unit circle. So negative 15 degrees times pi over 180. All right. Now, again, I like to check. So 180 divided by 15 goes in evenly. And so what that means is that 15 divided by itself is 1. 180 divided by 15 is 12. And this negative is still there. So if I go, and what this is really looking like is it's saying I went down, right, to negative 15 degrees. And that has the same value as going in the negative direction, pi over 12 radian units. All right, so again, this is what we call a graphical representation of this degree and radian measure. So we can do that for a variety. Okay, let's just do one more. Let's do negative 600 degrees. All right, so again, negative 600 degrees times pi over 180. All right. Okay, I know that my final answer is going to be negative because of the negative symbol. Cancel out the degrees, cancel out the 0, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 6, so that leaves a 10 and a 3. So negative 10 pi over 3 is going to be my, my measurement. And again, if I want to start looking at a graphical representation of that, okay, remember the denominator of 3 means that I'm going to have 3 equal portions to get halfway around. So 1, 2, 3. Sorry. So going in a negative direction would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, All right, so that's one rotation. 7, 8, 9. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this right here is my graphical representation of negative 10 pi over 3. So what if, though, we are given a radian and we want to convert to degrees? Sometimes it's beneficial to have the radian unit. Sometimes we need to be able to have the opposite. And so that's going to be the next part, is converting radians, right, to degrees. So you're just going backwards. Right. Now this one, you're still multiplying, but you're multiplying by the reciprocal, which is 180 degrees divided by pi. So now what we want is we want to have a degree when we're done, so I need to make sure the degree symbol is up top. Right. So let's look at a few conversions. Get my notes here. All right, so again, let's start with something like pi over 8. All right. So now in this case, we are allowed to have some decimals as long as the decimal terminates. All right, so I'm going to take my pi over 8. I'm going to multiply it by the 180 degrees over pi. And again, you can see that there's a pi symbol on the top and the bottom, which can cancel. And then I'm going to start simplifying this down. I can take a 2 out of here and a 2 out of here. And I didn't really think about that I could have probably taken out the full 8. And so if you want to, because we're allowed degrees, I could have done 180 just divided by 8 to see if that terminates, and it does. And so this would be the same thing as 22.5 degrees. All right, so again, something like this. 22.5 degrees is right about here. All right. And so that's my graphical representation to where pi over 8 is the same thing as 22.5 degrees. Right. What about negative 2 pi over 3? Okay, again, that negative is going to eventually still be in my final answer because it tells me the direction. So I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. All right, so pi symbols cancel. 3 goes into 180 60 times, still with the degree symbol. So negative 2 times 60 is negative 120 degrees. All right. So again, graphically, if I start thinking about where that's at, to get down to here is 90. And so negative 120 is right about here that it terminates, but it goes in this direction. So negative 120 degrees is the same as negative 2 of the pi over 3 increments. All right, again, think about what that denominator looks like. And that means that I need to go 2 of the 3 equal increments in the negative direction. So here's 1 and here's 2. All right, so that's our graphical. And let's just do one more. All right, like negative 21 pi over 6. All right. So again, multiply by 180 over pi. Your pi symbols cancel. And if you really wanted to, you could just put this all into your calculator the way you see it when you're doing the radians to degrees. So like 21 times 180 and then divided by 6 is 630 degrees. But I need to keep that negative that's sitting there. All right. So again, this is how you're going to convert to radians and degrees to radians by multiplying by either 180 over pi or pi over 180.